Got our guy here, R.W. Tyndall, taking his shots at Ohio State, who thinks that this is less of a program now than it was under Urban Meyer. Can you tell the difference, Steve?
Less of a program. I don't know what that comment really means or is directed to. I think they've got some definite team building that they have to work on. When you bring in 4 new assistant coaches, I mean, 4 of your position groups are basically starting over with new position coaches. So you have to build that trust. And so basically almost half the players lost their position coach, and so is there still that collegiality to it? Is it still that brotherhood? Is that still that thing that you look at, and you have that type of bond? I don't know if that's what he means, that those interpersonal bonds maybe aren't there to where it was such a cohesive 85, 110 man unit as maybe it was, but I don't sense that. I think, it was not a bad year by any means, and for them to come through it and win the Rose Bowl the way that they did, that showed that they still have a lot of that cohesiveness going for them, that they stayed with it and were able to. That could have ended up a 25-point blowout the way it was going, and they stayed with the program and were able to salvage it and to pull it out in the end. So, I don't know what he's driving at when he makes a comment like that. If you don't get the warm and fuzzy feelings there, is it really more of a business now than a college football program that we all grew up, idolizing and loving, and, these kind of things. And you do it for Old State U, I don't think some of that's gone. I think it's gone everywhere. I don't think, does Texas have a real football program anymore? They've gone through so many changes. What's left that's, still there? It's gotten so bad there that there's a disconnect, and the players don't want to sing the song after the game. They feel disconnected from whatever that is, So, I don't know if that's what he's driving at, that it just doesn't feel like it used to feel to him anymore, or what. Ryan Day is not an Ohio State guy. I'll grant you that. He was, brought here from the NFL, and yet he's won at the highest level, done everything but win a national championship in his time at Ohio State. So again, I like the path that they're on. I would agree that there is some coming together that needs to happen this year. I think that obviously with so many new coaches, they need to assimilate to what Ohio State's been all about, and Ohio State needs to grow and adapt to what's going to work in the year 2022. So I think it's a little bit of give and take on both sides. And, I understand how people can feel that it's not as good as it used to be, or doesn't feel, maybe as college-y as it used to, or whatever. It's kind of a minor league for the pros right now, as opposed to being what we all remember as being about college football. But at the same time, I think the mission hasn't strayed too much from what it's always been. And I think that, they're going to be just fine going into 2022. And I think the spring is going to be very important. It's going to be a time of learning and accepting and listening and growing. And I think that we're seeing a lot of that right now.
The big question, of course, is the defense, especially the back seven. They've recruited so well along the defensive front. You would think that and with Larry Johnson manning the defensive front, that's going to be a dominant unit, we would think. But then again, that was thought of entering 2021, and it didn't necessarily play like that most of the time. But Sue's asking about the defense, and I'll kind of extend on Sue's question, who's asking, is this a top 15 to 20 defense? Is that what it needs to be? But even beyond that, that's just a national ranking. It's a yardage figure that indicates something, but it's not the end all be all in evaluating an offense or a defense. So I'll ask it this way, if you don't mind, Sue, in extending off that 15 to 20 ranking, Steve, what are going to be your indicators that this defense is where it's supposed to be?
Oh, that's a great question. And I think, you make a good point. The ranking means one thing, top 15 or 20, but you don't win games based on the ranking of your unit. You win games by creating turnovers, getting off the field on third down, stopping the run, and impacting the opposing quarterback. So those are all the things that I think when you get into opening game against Notre Dame, those are the 3 or 4 things that you're really, really looking at. You could give up yards between the 20s and maybe have a defense ranked in the top 30 or 40, in terms of yards allowed. But if your defense is outstanding in the red zone and can keep teams out of the end zone and force them to settle for field goals, or give up yards and get some important takeaways at key moments, then you still have an effective defense and you can still win games. So I think there is some push-pull there to that. But I know what she's basically asking is this going to be a respectable defense? Is this going to be a championship caliber defense? Is this going to be a defense that you can contend for a national championship with? And the rankings are endemic of a team. It's hard to win a national championship with a defense ranked in the 70s or 80s, I would think, just because you're going to give up too many yards, too many points, to not get off the field on third down, and all these other metrics that we use to measure it. But those are the things I think about. Can you stop the run and put the opposing team in bad down and distance situations to where then you make them more prone to turn the ball over, more prone to go 3 and out, those kind of things, and flip the field position. When you get a quick 3 and out and you take over on your own 30 or 40 yard line, you can quickly flip the field position. And that to me means so much more in a 60-minute game. You have got to win the battle of field position. If you're constantly taking over on your own 10-yard line or your own 20-yard line because you've allowed yards and they've punted it and pinned you back, then it makes it so much more difficult to score points, obviously. So, again, like Jim Tressel said, everything is part of everything, and his whole mantra of playing complementary football, that the special teams beget the defense, which beget the special teams, which begets the offense, which begets. And so, it's a 60-minute game, as we saw in the Rose Bowl. They finally played complementary defense in the second half, and the complementary offense came through and scored some points, and they won the game. And the kicked a field goal on special teams at the end to win the game. So to me, she raises a great question. I think the potential is there to be very good on defense. I think that they can do some things to turn this around very quickly through player development, improved schemes. I think that, and just by osmosis, let's throw out Cody Simon, a linebacker. Let's throw out Steel Chambers. Let's throw out the safety, Bryson Shaw, who played quite a bit. Those 3 guys in particular played football with a number of plays per game at a level they had never played at the college level before. I mean, they probably played, 80 to 90% of the plays on defense when they were in high school, but never in college until this season. Well, just by being in the program and gaining 5 or 10 pounds and taking a few hundredths of a second off their 40 time or whatever it might be, or improving their bench or whatever it might be, they're going to be bigger, stronger, faster X's and O's coming back to play as part of that defense this year. And it's something that you see a lot of times, is that guys are obviously going to play their best football in their junior and their senior year if they go through the program and development. So just by osmosis,